really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow, cause we're golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden.
Pivotal Conversations is focused on creating a seamless and convenient method for brands to create content in the modern age. We cover everything from strategy to production to post-production editing to create all your short-form content, as well as social media strategy and your website strategy. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, or you've got a podcast and you're looking for a seamless, convenient way for you to create your content and get it out there to the world, we are offering 50% off your first episode. So if that's something you're interested in, there will be a link in the show notes. Fill that inquiry form out and we'll be in contact within 24 hours. Thanks, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Startup Diaries. Today's episode is a board meeting episode. So for those of you who have listened and tuned in to the previous board meeting episode, it's something where we cover off almost like a bulletin in a sense, like what do we got coming up, what are we wanting to roll out, ideas that we have where we want some feedback from you guys. And today's episode, we're going to review the month that was, the guests we had on, the rollout of our brand new Learn series, which you guys seem to love. And we've already got some plans in motion for the next series, which is great. We want to get to a point where we can roll one of those out every week. We obviously tested initially, but board meeting, we'll get straight into it. I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. If you can just make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you've been enjoying the pod. That would be much appreciated. If you've been tuning in, you're really loving it, hit the subscribe button, leave us a review, do all of that, because we want to continue to get amazing guests. We want to get the biggest in Australia. We want you guys to help us do that. We want to go to America, get the biggest there, and really turn this into one of the world's best podcasts for founders and startups, where they can not only just hear stories, but learn and get depth and the technical side of building a business. We don't want you to go anywhere else. We don't want you guys to have to pay for courses. We want it all to come right here. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and review and share on social, do all that stuff. All right, so the month in review, we had our Learn series, our very first iteration of the Learn series, which featured Danny Chia, my accountant, and we covered budgeting and forecasting, we covered pricing and unit economics, and then we covered structure. And we also have 2 more episodes that are going to be releasing from that series. But what I'm most interested, first of all, most interested is, did you guys love that? Did you want more depth? Was it long enough? Was it in-depth enough? Was it, actionable enough for you guys? Like, could you actually walk away and actually action some of the things that talked about there? Would you like more examples, more case studies? Because we're going to continue to roll these out. So that's like my little throw to you guys is, what wasn't there that you want more of, and how can we improve those? But overall, you guys really seem to love it, which is really, really cool. We are doing our best to provide as much value as we can, and when we get great feedback, it's amazing. And you guys did seem to love the depth, and you did seem to love how specific it was to certain topics rather than this kind of big, broader story. And so what you'll see on our feed now is that we have diaries, which is like our stories with our guests. We also have lessons, which is like short, bite-sized lessons from previous episodes that might help you guys in real time. And then we have our Learn series, which is learning about specific topics. We might even roll some of these into courses, free courses that can where you can kind of get all of these in one area per subject. So like finance, marketing, operations, and stuff like that. But you guys seem to love it, which is really awesome. So we're going to roll that out. Our next one that we're going to be rolling out is hopefully marketing. Some guys, some friends of mine that own an agency that are working with some top e-commerce brands. We're looking to roll a series with them out about not paid marketing in a sense, but just marketing and the kind of core fundamentals that you need to have in place in order to do it really well. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And if there's any other subjects that you guys want, make sure you reach out. Make sure you let me know, and we can obviously get those in motion. What are the subjects that you really want to learn about that you think are going to help you? That could be marketing as a whole. It could be paid advertising. It could be branding. It could be organic social media. It could be operations. It could be management. Like literally just reach out and say what you want next, and we will go with what the majority says. All right, so we had our Learn series drop. The guest that we had Amal Wakim from Equolution. Amazing episode. Absolutely loved talking to her. I think my biggest takeaway from that was product iteration. We talked a little bit about hiring, but the kind of the core thing that I remember when listening back was how product iteration is so important, and innovation and how we test features and take feedback and so on, which when I go through my biggest learnings, that's one of them. But so amazing episode. We had obviously Danny Chia in the Learn series, really good if you want to understand budgeting, finances, how to improve your earnings, how to maximize profits, how to pay less taxes. That was really, really a great point. We had Georgia Danos, co-founder of Gem, really inspiring story, early stage, still very much in the startup and building phase, but has been able to launch products that are now in Mecca. This is, dental, not dental, so oral care that is now in Mecca. They just got accepted into Woolworths, and she kind of dives into how do you break into a market that is just saturated by big players? How do you even get heard? How do you get into these big places? And what are kind of the core fundamental things that allowed her to make those steps, as well as some really basic e-commerce insights such as unit economics and understanding those things. Dalton Henshaw, wow, that was a bit of a different episode. Really just talking about his journey, what has shaped him to be able to grow a business from 0 to 42 employees in 2 years. One of Australia's, fastest growing and renowned agencies. The thing I loved about that was just the emotional side. I think you kind of get an insight into the emotional side of entrepreneurship, how taxing it can be, how it can drive you it's very much this journey that every entrepreneur goes through, where you learn a lot about yourself. So we went into Dalton's story. He had previously exited a business, but basically how it affected his relationships, and he suffered from massive burnout, which was really insightful, which I absolutely loved. So a little bit different. Probably one of my favorite conversations, just because of how relatable I think it is. And then we had Elise Collat, who was the ex-head of e-commerce at Frank Green. So Frank Green is a massive, massive e-commerce business. Everybody's got a Frank Green drink bottle. So really interesting. She's also an e-commerce consultant and a lot of experience there working with brands. And so, that was great to kind of get an insight into e-com, the world of e-com, where we think it's going. But there was a lot of really cool tactics, and something that I'm going to dive into right now. So really cool, really interesting month. A lot of great guests, a lot of great conversations, which is great. Sorry, my nose just went crazy then. A lot of great conversations. Here are my biggest takeaways of the month so far. The first one, was with Amal Wakim from Equolution. But it's the idea of testing and iterating before you spend. Equolution obviously has an era of tech within their business, of how they do things. And I think you can learn a lot from tech in how you build a product and innovate with that product over time. And what really fascinated me about, Amal when she was talking was basically the testing and iteration process, which, in the early days of business wasn't there, and they made a massive mistake launching a feature that, they invested a lot of money in that totally flopped and did not add any value to the customer experience whatsoever. And then Amal kind of went on to talk about the extensive process of feedback, testing certain features where they're not in the core kind of section of their app, but more in a section where it will be used sparingly, but enough to kind of get the feedback. And the way they launched certain features as well. And so I think there's a massive lesson there for anyone, is that before you go all in on something, before you decide or you think you've got this great idea, and as business owners we've always got these great ideas, and you need to action this now, and you need to invest a ton of money into it, and it hasn't been tested, or you haven't put some sort of MVP, not the perfect product, but just something out there that is a version of the feature or the product that you're looking to launch. I think that's really important. And so even if we look at something like e-commerce, I remember having conversations with my partner Olivia about this, but we were talking about, do we go a big launch, do we go a small launch? Like, do we spend 10 grand, get a nice studio space, and do this big kind of audacious photo shoot and video shoot, and we need to order X amount of units? Or do we just kind of get a few units, do a bit of a test, or even like a pre-sale, test if there's actually demand and people actually want these products, do some influencer marketing that's a little bit more cost effective, do a basic photo shoot in our studio that we have here. And I think the idea of that iteration and testing for demand, and if people actually enjoy it first, is just really important. So that was my biggest takeaway from that conversation. That was the thing that really stood out to me. Takeaway number 2, Danny Chia, pricing and positioning. The idea that being in the middle of either premium or convenient and accessible is no man's land. And so really this idea that you have to choose one or the other. You can't just be in that middle tier, because you eventually get evaporated. Like Amazon are completely convenient. They have low margins, right? But they are deliberately doing that and pricing extremely low so that the value always outweighs the cost. And that's like, even if you think about the Amazon Prime model. Amazon Prime, they keep developing these different features like Prime Video, next day delivery, and so on. And they just can keep adding all these features and charging $6 a month. And they know, and the margin on that might not be huge, right? But deep down that you're never going to get rid of that. The quote Danny used, or that Jeff Bezos, once said, is that your margin is his opportunity. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, could you please go and leave us a 5-star review? Our mission with this podcast is to provide education and lessons from business leaders and founders for absolutely no cost. And every review we get and every bit of support that you throw behind us allows us to secure bigger names, bigger guests, and have amazing conversations. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you very much. Hey guys, just a short interruption. I want to say a massive shout out to our major sponsors, BizCover. BizCover are a business insurance company who are leading the charge in Australia. They are Australian owned, and more importantly, they're a big reason why we get to continue to do what we do, which is share the amazing stories and lessons of successful founders and business leaders. I love having these conversations, and I'm sure you guys love listening to them. So we want to show our support for BizCover. Now, the advice I would give to someone who's in their first couple of years of business or they're about to start a business is to make sure that you get your business insurance covered. In the early days, it's extremely hard to grow a business, and it's also extremely tight where you're continuously trying to reinvest funds to, get ahead. You're trying to hire staff. You're trying to do all these amazing things with the excess money that you're making. And all it takes is one thing to go wrong and it to cost you a lot of money to literally sink your business and put you back a year, 2 years, or even put you out of business. BizCover make it really easy. They make it really quick. It's super efficient, but the quality of service that you get when you go with BizCover is one that you will be a customer forever, just like I've been a customer for 10 years. So if you are looking to get your business insured, or you want to, more importantly, just get a better insurance that covers you for more, and more importantly, at a really good price, head on over to bizcover.com.au and use the code Pivotal25 for $25 off a new policy. So that's Pivotal25 off a new policy. Head on over, check them out, and more importantly, get your company insured. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum, which is Ferrari, or these kind of premium products that are expensive. If you think about like your Gucci bags or anything like that, like I think you're either if you you're either buying a Gucci bag or you're buying a really cheap bag. The companies in the middle actually perform the poorest. And so the idea that pricing, yes, should be based on the margin that you want to achieve, but pricing also is a signaling tool. Are we premium or are we, accessible? And the fact that being in the middle is the wrong place to be. So that was a really great insight, is because I think as business owners, we can sometimes not be as deliberate as what we should with our pricing, or we can focus on the economics and not the marketing side and the signaling side, because pricing is not just an economics equation. It's a marketing equation. And so I found that really interesting. That was a really big takeaway. Number 3 was, again, Danny Chia, maximizing profits through wages and the structure of your business. And one of the key points that he made was, when you are trying to extract the money out of your business, there's a few different ways that you can do that. You can get paid a wage, you can get paid a dividend, and obviously each of those have different tax rates. But the idea is that what you can start to do with structure, so with things such as holding companies, and a holding company is basically a company that holds cash. You can do it with trusts. There's like a lot of different things. I'm no expert in it, but what I got out of that point or that conversation was, get enough money into your personal entity, so into your personal income that allows you to live, and then put that money into other investment vehicles via a low tax or through a low tax environment, so that you can keep most of your money and invest into investment vehicles that can help you build wealth and income. And so that could be a holding company. Instead of paying that dividend out to yourself, you can pay that dividend to the holding company. And there's, you don't pay as much tax because you're already paying yourself an income, and so on. But the idea is make money in your business, pay yourself enough money to live a good life, and then all the excess get into different investment vehicles through low tax or in low tax environments, or through low tax channels, so that you can keep more of your money rather than paying it out. So go listen to that if you want to understand it. I probably butchered it, but go have a listen to the Danny Chia episodes if you want to kind of get an understanding of that. The next one was Dalton Henshaw, which I really love this one. And what I've got here is awareness and the role it plays in progress. And so really talking about how our experiences shape us, but the key to that is knowing how they shape us. And so the conversation with Dalton was very much around his journey with therapy, although it wasn't a vigorous and long one. it was something that he found very, very helpful because it created awareness for him around the reasons that he experienced burnout and what drove him to this point where he was burnt out. And I think it talks to the idea of motivations and the things that influence us. And even for someone like myself, I think I look back to these really tough times in my life, which we all go through. And I can see, and I've been, I've done therapy as well, and very much thought that it was very much a similar experience for me. Whereas like, there's things you haven't talked about to anyone in your life that are currently influencing your behavior, the way you treat people, the things you work for, the things you want in life, the things that you want in life that you don't have that cause you, to be unfulfilled, and to not, and to feel anxiety and so on. And so this idea that your experiences all the way from childhood, all the way through childhood, shape the person you are now. And a lot of the time, you don't talk about those things with people, and they are your biggest motivators. And I think awareness around that and why you are striving for the things that you are striving for, because I really think that in life, what you strive for doesn't necessarily matter too much, as long as you know why you're striving for it. So if I want to be wealthy, why do I want to be wealthy? Because you may think you want to be wealthy because it's going to make you happier. And in fact, we know that there are cases where it's not the truth. There are cases where it is the truth, but that's my point. It's understanding why. And I think, so my biggest takeaway from Dalton and his journey and that conversation was a reminder that, again, awareness is the key player in our progress in life, because understanding what motivates us and what influences us, or what is influencing us and motivating us, will basically allow us to make progress, because we can be chasing things for the wrong reasons, and that can cause us to be burnt out, or it can cause us health issues, or it can cause us to ruin relationships, and takes away these kind of core and it can really cause us to ruin or sabotage these things that really make us human, and really fulfill us in life. And we can be chasing them for the wrong reasons because of things that happened to us when we, or things we experienced when we were children. So I found that really interesting. Go have a listen. It's a deep conversation. I absolutely loved it though. And the last one was Elise Collap. This is a really, really tactical nugget that I really loved. And Elise was talking about how you can offer free shipping to increase conversion rates. And that sounds really simple, but the thing that I really got out of it, or the principle, was optimize for a fixed cost rather than a variable cost. And so if you think about it, a conversion rate basically tacks on to your cost of acquisition. So if my conversion rate with $10 shipping is 50% and it goes to 90% when I have free shipping, it means that my cost of acquisition is actually going to come down, because the marketing spend to get the leads or the people to my site, more of those are getting converted, which means based on my marketing spend and my sales, costs, that cost of acquisition will come down. And shipping, although it has been quite volatile, is actually a fixed expense, right? Like my shipping doesn't necessarily vary too much, or not as much as my sales and my marketing. So optimize for your fixed costs right? Like take the hit with your fix. Like I'd much rather give away free shipping because I know that that's $15 every time, where I can, my variable costs, because they can be, variable means they can go up and then they can go down and they can shift quite, acutely. Mate, like we can use little tactics like that where, cool, like $15, I know that's there, like that's a target for me. I'll take that hit because my cost of acquisition, is I'm getting an increased sales conversion rate of 45%, right? And so it wasn't the little tactic of free shipping without any kind of purpose or deliberation behind it, but more so the fact that, oh wow, like shipping's a fixed cost, and your cost of acquisition is variable. So let's really optimize to bring that variable cost down. And sometimes that means taking a hit on that fixed cost because we can actually plan around it. All right, so that was my key takeaways for the last month. I don't know, I thought it would be cool to give you guys an insight into the things that I'm learning, because one of the lucky things for me is I get to talk to all these amazing people. So that was something that I wanted to bring to your light, because I know that, and I'd love to hear what your biggest learnings were, because I'm sure that we're all taking a lot out of this, and many different things are our kind of big pivotal nuggets. So if you've written one down, feel free to send it through, or we actually have our SpeakPipe link in our Instagram, and it's also in our show notes. So if you want to drop a message, you've got a question for me for the next board meeting, you want to share a key learning with the community, you can do that, which is really awesome. So my key learnings, take what you want with it. Tell me if I'm crazy, but I hope they kind of give you some insight. And you haven't listened to those episodes, go listen to them, and the one that has the insight that you want as well. All right, so we obviously spoke, and there's a lot of things that we really want to do. We want to we want to do events. We want to do roundtables with amazing minds. There's so much that we really want to do. But I had someone reach out during the week, and they made a suggestion. And really, what I'm looking for here is you guys coming to me and saying, "Yep, 100%." You've got to do this, because for us, it's very much about, at the moment, we really have a lot of ideas. It's not as if we're not taking action on them, but we're just trying to figure out what's going to be the most valuable thing for you guys. Someone said that they love the idea of a networking group where we have access to amazing people, which includes both you, the listener, and our community, the people that tune in all the time. You're all amazing minds. I get to speak to a lot of you in the back end. But then we also have these amazing experts, guests, people that have had a lot of success in business. And this idea of a networking community that includes both an online presence where you can discuss certain things and have conversations and meet different people online, mixed with in-person events. And so the way I really think about this is, initially I would do it where I feel like a lot of communities just fizzle out, and it's because there's no barrier to entry and there's no value actually happening in that community. So I would limit it. I would go 100 people to start off, and then we would slowly release once we started to understand what value the community wanted. But a small community of 100 people or so online, the ability to pass on business to each other, discuss certain topics, Q&As with, amazing entrepreneurs, and being in a community with like-minded people, and really just free-flowing discussion. But then we would love to do in-person events, headline speakers, maybe like a live podcast or a live panel or a round table or something like that. And then obviously the ability to bring in our community, watch it live, and then network amongst each other, have certain discussions, solve problems together, have a laugh, have a drink, just literally network, meet great people, and share great conversation, which is what the premise of this whole podcast actually is. So And we also really want to do experiences and giveaways. And I feel like this community would be a great place to start, where people in our community, like one of the experiences we want to do is like almost like a meet your hero, where we can take, like one of the examples is we've actually spoken to the guys at Elite 11 about touring their new facility and sharing that with one of our community members, where you can come in, tour their facility, but also have a 20, 30-minute spitball, conversation with them, and ask some questions and these kind of things. And we have such a great network that we could do that with so many businesses. And so the idea that we can, include that in that community, and that's kind of how we choose those people, is like the people that are engaging in the community the most, and doing the most in there, we can share those experiences with, plus all the networking, plus the events. So that's for you guys to come back and say, yep, I 100% want that. Yep, let's do it. Where is the biggest question? Is it Slack? Is it WhatsApp? Is it Facebook groups? Like that's the biggest troubling piece. But like we think that could be really, really great. That could be the next iteration for the podcast. But I would love to hear from you guys. I just wanted to put that out there. That's what we're going to finish with. Let me know, reach out. And we're also going to do some Q&A based stuff next board meeting and so on. But yeah, let us know. And the big questions is what would you want included in that community and where would we host it? I think the events are going to be great as well. So board meeting episode number 2, done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're loving the podcast. Again, remember to subscribe, share it with your friends, leave us a review. All that stuff allows us to get amazing guests on. We want to go bigger. That's honestly the next iteration. Bigger guests. We want to get the Hormozis. We want to get to the America. We want to get some of the big players from Australia. We can only do that with your help, which you've been amazing at. So a massive thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you got a lot out of the takeaways. And next month, we're onwards and upwards, more guests, more learn series, more lessons, and hopefully a community coming soon. All right, guys, enjoy.
What it really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow.